G'day, I'm Tim Thompson. Recently I tried out a set of Mobishear foot pairing secateurs and they were a fantastic asset to looking after my flock of sheep. Well, today we're going one step further and we're getting some advice from our wonderful vet Eloise Dean, who is well regarded in the Yarra Valley in Victoria because she has lots of practical advice and heaps of experience, and she's happy to tell everyone about the best way to look after your sheep. G'day Eloise.
Hi Tim.
How are you?
Good,
Lovely
how are
to
you?
see you again.
You too.
Eloise, it's fantastic to have you out here with us again today. We've got some sheep doing sheep things. They've got some springtime issues with their feet, which we always tend to get.
Yep.
And I thought it was a perfect time for you perhaps to explain a few things about looking after hooves and feet.
Sure.
And some of the stuff that people should watch out for and some of the things that they should maybe have to look after their sheep.
Awesome. Easy.
So the first thing is trimming, obviously.
Yep. Yeah,
so what are your hot tips for trimming for people that haven't trimmed before? Because some people don't trim.
So I think the most important thing is they need to be trimmed quite regularly. Hooves grow continuously throughout the year, but sometimes of the year they'll grow faster than others. So springtime they tend to grow quite quickly.
Or if you put them on grain or something like that, that'll speed it up as well.
Yeah, it will, absolutely, but fluctuations throughout the year as well. It's just natural fluctuations in things like their wool growth as well.
Yep.
So if we don't trim our feet often enough, the hoof wall, which is the side part, will start to overgrow and curl under, and eventually it'll crack. The most...
and we've got a little bit of cracking here.
A little bit, but these feet are pretty well trimmed. So if we don't trim them often enough and the hoof wall is growing over, then we get our cracks, and that's a weak point where bacteria can get in and cause things like foot abscesses. The weakest point is the white line, which is where the hoof wall meets the sole, so it runs around the outside there. And when we get those cracks, that's where the bacteria will then get in and track up and cause abscesses. So generally we want to trim every 8 to 12 weeks, but it depends, like I was saying, on how quickly they're growing. So sometimes of the year, like summertime, when the ground is hard and they might be wearing them more naturally, you might only have to trim every 12 weeks.
Yep.
During the wetter months, when they're not wearing their hooves and they might be growing a bit faster, then you might have to trim every 8 weeks or so. Yeah.
And after trimming and between trimming, we tend to run ours through a foot bath as well.
Yeah.
Is that a good idea in your opinion?
Foot bathing is a great idea. It helps to strengthen up the actual horny keratin material of their feet.
Yep.
So that in itself will also make them less prone to foot issues. It also helps with the interdigital skin, so the skin between the claws.
And as we can see, it's a little bit inflamed today in some of these feet.
So they've got a bit of interdigital dermatitis here. So this is just a bit of bacterial infection getting in here. Some people know this as foot rot. Foot rot is a particular type of bacterial infection in between the toes. That in itself can cause a big issue on big farms. The foot bathing can really help. So it's both antibacterial, but then also strengthening up the natural tissues of the feet as well.
Now you can use copper and zinc.
Yes.
What's your favourite?
Zinc I tend to go for because it doesn't stain their fleece, whereas the copper can stain their fleece. It's not such an issue on like hobby farms or meat sheep, but for wool producers, you really don't want the staining of the fleece because that's your livelihood, your income. So zinc sulfate ideally, copper sulfate if you're not so concerned about the wool. Yeah.
Just from my own experience, I found the zinc works better, but I don't have any data on that. It's just what I've seen.
Anecdotal,
but all right. So top tips there, guys. Make sure you're regularly trimming the feet every 2 to 3 months, seasonally dependent, and make sure you're using foot baths. Let's say the dermatitis, and that's not foot rot, that's just dermatitis.
Interdigital dermatitis.
So let's say that starts getting away from us, and we notice that at trimming time. What are some things that we can do, Eloise?
Well, your foot bathing will definitely help. So, just like we were saying, the zinc sulfate with its antibacterial properties. So they say you should either have an 8-metre long foot bath,
right,
or they have to have their feet in the solution for at least 15 seconds per sheep.
So have a gate on the end and stop them and
make them stand there.
while.
Yeah, or just have your really long foot bath that they have to walk through. So either or. So yeah, you can definitely use your foot bathing. There's also lots of antibacterial products out there, so sprays and those sorts of things.
Yep.
I've got a whole selection in my bucket that I can show you if you,
Yeah,
if you
cool.
want me to.
Yeah, no, we definitely have to have a look at the gear as well.
Yeah. So those sorts of things can definitely get you out of jail, particularly if you're using them earlier on. Sometimes if this interdigital dermatitis gets away from you and it's been let go for a bit too long and gets a bit too severe, you might have to call the vet and get some more gung-ho treatments on board, like injectable antibiotics.
That sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, let's start caring for these feet and have a look at the different parts.
Yeah.
And get the sheep running well.
Yeah. All right, so things that we should all have to maintain our sheep and goats' feet. We've got some hoof trimmers here, little shears. Hoof pick, so that helps to get the dirt out from any underrun areas, then makes the trimming easier. And then we've got some sprays that can be really handy in the early stages of foot issues. Sometimes it can help you to not have to call the vet as well, so save a bit of money. So things like Cetrogen. So this one is an antibacterial spray and it also has insect repellents in it. So the antibacterial spray will help to clear up any infection, particularly things like interdigital dermatitis, which we'll show you in a minute. And then the repellent side of things really helps to prevent fly strike. So when we have infection around the feet, flies love to come in and lay their eggs there, which will then hatch into maggots, and the maggots will chew away at the tissue and cause more trauma and more disease, potentially then introduce more infection. So the Cetrogen's really handy because it has those two components to it. If the infection between the toes is quite severe, then we can reach for something that's a little more gung-ho in terms of the antibacterial coverage. So we'll go for something like Eloise, which is an antibiotic. This one is an oxytetracycline spray. I find this quite good for severe or moderate to severe interdigital dermatitis. The one downfall of this product is that it doesn't have any insect repellents in there, so it doesn't help to prevent fly strike. So you do have to be careful and keep monitoring those feet if you're reaching for this product, just to make sure there's no fly strike there.
So they're great tips, Eloise. They're three things that everyone who has some sheep should have.
Yeah.
Hoof pick, a good set of foot rot shears, and some antibiotic spray.
Yeah, I think Cetrogen's a good one to have. Yeah.
And that's good if you cut them or nick them during shearing or anything. You can use it anywhere on the sheep.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, now we've got some feet here that are a little bit suspicious looking, and we've got them in the crush. We're going to put them through the foot bath. We've got one here that you've already done, and we've got one here that you're about to do.
Yeah.
So perhaps you can talk us through that.
Sure. So here's one I prepared earlier, as they say. So this area of the foot had a lot of underrun sole there, and where the hoof wall is separated away from the sole. So we've trimmed that right back, and the reason that we do that is to stop dirt from tracking up and getting stuck between the hoof wall and the sole. So we've trimmed that right back, and we've also sprayed it with some of our pink Cetrogen spray. On this foot she also had some interdigital dermatitis, which is a bit hard to appreciate now that we've sprayed it with Cetrogen, but we can show you on this other foot what that looks like. So on this foot, sorry darling, we've got a bit of separation here of the hoof wall from the sole. So you can see there's a bit of a cavity. Oh, she's a wriggly one. I know, honey. Bit of a cavity here, so that's where the dirt can track up between the hoof wall and the sole, and it'll get stuck there and potentially cause a foot abscess. I know, doll.
So you're going to trim that away now and then monitor?
Yep, so I'll trim that away, and then we keep monitoring it. So you might check her initially maybe twice a week, and then weekly. If she's really lame, maybe even daily. Depends how severe it is. She's also got some interdigital dermatitis here, so we can see, if she stops wriggling, there's a bit of pink discoloration of the skin. She's a wild one. Pink discoloration of the skin there, and there's also a little bit of infection tracking along down the bottom there where the hoof wall meets the skin there. Yeah. To get any dirt out from this underrun section. So this one's not quite as severe as the other side, but still worthwhile treating. So we've gotten all the dirt out, and then we're going to use our little hoof shears to trim away the hoof wall that has separated from the sole just to really open that up. And it looks like Tim's already done a pretty good job of this not too long ago. So really this is a bit of a maintenance trim that you might have to do that every couple of weeks until this hoof wall grows down and meets the sole again. So we're just paring it back to help keep it nice and open so that all the dirt can continue to fall out till the wall grows down and seals on again. She's got a little bit of loose hoof wall here, so we can probably take that off too. And just a little bit on the bulb of her heel there as well, so we'll just get rid of that. Yeah, shorten the toe a little bit. These feet have been pretty well trimmed, so this is really just a maintenance trim, and we need to treat that into digital dermatitis as well. Yeah.
Once we finished trimming and treating the sheep, we made sure it stayed for 15 seconds in the zinc sulfate foot bath before it was let out to go and join its friends. Your 15 seconds of fame are finished still. Regular checks on your livestock are really important in spring, and this telltale gait is a sure sign that you need to check the feed and do something to have an early intervention. Alright, so you really like those shears? You reckon they're pretty good?
I do. I think they're easy to trim it, like finely, I guess. Yeah, you can make nice
Easy.
Small. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, well.
It is easy. Have a go.
Alright. I haven't used these before, so... Ooh, I want to take off my own finger. I think I'm getting the hang of it now.
You're only on the first foot.
Hang on, girl.
Makes it a bit easier.
Yeah. I'll probably do my partner's toenails with these. Oh, I've gone a bit short, sorry girl. So that is a perfect example where a spray of Cetrogen might be handy, because I've gone a bit short on the toe and there's just a little bit of blood coming through. So sorry darling, but we'll spray that with some Cetrogen just to stop it from getting infected. I was like, thanks, you made my foot worse.
Come on, darling. Off you go. I know you don't like it. So thanks heaps, Eloise, for all your tips on foot care with sheep. And the same holds true for goats as well, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And a number of other animals. Routine maintenance is something that I used to dread because it was really hard work with those old foot shears. Yeah. But these new things, they're kind of making the job kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you out here.
Anytime.
As it always is. And you've given us some great ideas for looking after our livestock.
Happy to help.
Awesome.
Thanks, Tim.
Guys, don't forget, if you like this video, hit the little subscribe button down there, give it a thumbs up. There's plenty more content on timthompson.ag, including past episodes with Eloise.
Oh dear.
And lots of tips, tricks and reviewed products. Guys, I'll see you next week.